Marcos has appointed former Duterte ally Melvin Matibag as new director of the National Bureau of Investigation, or the NBI. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says Matibag is trustworthy and capable of serving the government. He will replace Attorney Angelito Magno. Meantime, Yusek Castro also announced that President Marcos will meet former Vice President and now Naga City Mayor Leni Robredo on Saturday, February 21. That's for the government's Oplan Kontrabaha program, which targets to clean up waterways and drainage systems. It is not clear if the former opponents during the 2016 elections will discuss politics on the heels of VP Sara Duterte's announcement that she's running for president in 2028. Senator Robin Padilla is the newest member of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, replacing Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. Padilla was nominated by Deputy Majority Leader J.B. Ejercito and later elected without objection from other senators. De la Rosa has been absent from the Senate since November 11, 2025. ML Party List Congresswoman Laila de Lima says former President Duterte's request to skip the ICC hearing shows that he is of sound mind. According to de Lima, Duterte's waiver letter demonstrates his ability to understand the circumstances and direct his defense. Duterte had earlier asked permission from the ICC to skip his confirmation of charges hearing on February 23. He cited three reasons. First, he does not recognize the ICC jurisdiction, claiming that his arrest was a form of kidnapping. Second, Duterte denies the existence of extrajudicial killings, or EJKs, during his drug war. And third, he says he's old, tired, and frail. Our co-host Regina Lay and Philippine Star Editor-in-Chief Ami Pamintuan and of course our international man of mystery Raul Llamas will not be in today. So joining me today is One News Defense Editor Manuel Mogato, also known as Mogs, our international man of Siopao.
Thank you, Ed.
Galang-galang ka mo ka.
Oo, nasa bahay lang kaya nagbisang.
Bakit daw rosy cheeks ka ngayon?
Powder.
Ang powder hindi naka-rosy cheeks.
Ganun ba? Pinowder ang aso ng anak ko eh.
baka naman hindi powder bigay sa anak mo.
Ano yun? Parang foundation.
Buti po siya nagpa-foundation. Okay, sige. Mogs, Kosa, ano malalaking story today that you've heard of?
Well, yung sinasabing possible tandem ni VP Sara at ni Amy Marcos. Although may nagsabing iba na dapat daw si Robert Padilla kasi wala pang sa history ng Philippine politics na dalawang bahay ang tumakbo sa President and Vice President. Diba? And at the same time, hindi ko alam kung may value added si Amy kay VP Sara. Considering na yung North-South combination, yan yung kadalasang sinasabi. No? Dahil ginawa yan ni Marcos at ni Sara, ni Bongbong at ni Sara nung 2022, no? Kasi malakas ang mga Marcos sa norte.
Pero matagal nag-gobernador si Amy sa Ilocos.
Yeah, pero I don't think Amy has considerable support in the north, considering that inaaway niya yung kanyang kapatid na si Bongbong in the last 2 years. So medyo nabawasan ng suporta si Amy dyan. And if you would recall, muntik pa matalo sa 2025 midterm election. Amy, ang talaga nagsalba sa kanya ay yung support from the Duterte dyan sa Mindanao. No? So I'm not sure if Amy is still popular in the north, considering her break from her brother, no? Si Bongbong Marcos nga. And you know that the Ilocanos love Bongbong more than Amy.
Then again, Bok, medyo maaga pa to talk about combinations. Kasi marami pa bago eh.
Marami pa. And then, hindi ko alam bakit nag-premature announcement si Sarah. Kasi open season na yan for attacks, di ba?
But then again, the season never closed.
Yeah, of course. Alam mo natin na since 2022, binabanata na si Sarah because of her confidential and intelligence fund. No?
Yun lang, from this day on, or from yesterday onwards, everything she does may be framed in terms of her political candidacy, in the same way that everything leveled against her in terms of criticism may also be framed in terms of her candidacy. So, kumbaga, parehong banat at parehong aksyon niya o aktibidad niya ay maring sabing pamumulitika.
Ay, pero Ed, alam mo, hindi pa siya nag-announce eh. Ganun na yung Ganun na yung kanyang sinasabi na pinupolitika siya. So, wala nang bago dyan. So, tingin ko hindi na gaanong mag-matter yan sa ganyang reasoning kasi alam naman natin na sinasabi niya matagal na. Ang aking worry, Ed, is yung tinatawag nating AI-generated malicious information na hindi galing sa Pilipinas, no? At dadami yan in the next couple of months kasi nga they're pushing for Sara Duterte to convince the Filipinos na she is the best candidate, no, for 2028. So, asahan mo na dadami yung trolls, dadami yung foreign malign information activities na galing sa China. Kasi alam naman natin na si Sara ay pro-China. Hindi ko alam kung paano i-counter yan ng gobyerno. Pero alam mo, Ed, meron akong na-discover na yung palang US Army, yung 3rd Marine Multi-Domain, no? 3rd Multi-Domain Task Force, no, ng US Army.
Yung may hawak ng Typhoon? Yung may hawak ng Typhoon?
Hindi, yung iba pa sa Typhoon to kasi itong Multi-Domain Task Force nag-create ng ng isang unit na i-rotate sa Pilipinas na ang kanilang trabaho is to counter yung foreign malign information.
That's why it's called multi-domain.
Yes, kasi hindi lang land, sea, air, cyberspace, space, no? Lahat na ng battle space kasama diyan. Kaya ngayon they are trying to focus on information warfare kasi nga alam nila na malakas ang China at ini-influence ito na to generate support for China and at the same time alisin yung suporta sa US, no. So abangan natin 'yan kasi exciting 'yan, no. Information warfare na ang bagong kalakaran dito sa Indo-Pacific.
Are they going to deploy here in the Philippines?
Yes, there is a 65-man soldier na will be rotated, no. Itong unit na to was created only in November last year, no. So it will be rotated in the Philippines and also in Japan. Although in Japan, they will create their own, the US Army will create the 4th Multi-Domain Task Force in Japan, Japan-based. Kasi meron sila tatlo ngayong Multi-Domain Task Force. Yung isa based in Washington State. Yan yung nagpadala ng typhoon.
Yung may typhoon,
yung second Multi-Domain Task Force ay sa Germany at yung third Multi-Domain Task Force ay sa Hawaii. Yan. Pero alam mo, yung Multi-Domain Task Force na yan also considering deploying Dark Eagle.
Wait, what's Dark Eagle? Yung ginamit ni Tom Cruise dun sa Dark Star pala yun, no?
Itong Dark
Star pala
Eagle.
yung Tom Cruise sa Maverick.
Itong Dark Eagle is a long-range precision guided hypersonic missile, no? Mas mahaba ang range nito kaysa Typhoon, no?
And it's
sikreto
hypersonic.
pa yun.
Hypersonic is four times the speed of sound.
Yes, so ito sikreto pa ng US, di pa nilalabas yung details, no? Pero balak daw na mag-deploy sa Indo-Pacific ng Dark Eagle at candidate nga yung Japan, Korea at Pilipinas na i-deploy yan, no?
But that's gonna be interesting po kasi we already have a battery of BrahMos. Although yung BrahMos that we got is not hypersonic, di ba? It's
Tsaka anti-ship lang yan.
it's only supersonic eh. That
Anti-ship
export version
lang yan
eh.
Para lang sa barko yan eh. Yung US, no, yung third multi-domain task force, meron ng HIMARS, no? Meron ng long range cannon, no? Faipon, no? So dadagdagan pa raw kasi nung Lunes nag-meeting sa Manila yung US at Pilipinas yung 12th bilateral security dialogue, and the US decided to deploy more cutting-edge missiles. So ano yan? Pwedeng Tomahawk, pwedeng SM-6, no?
Yeah. Okay naman, we'll have later si Philippine ambassador to the US. Okay, he's here na pala. Let's bring in our ambassador to the US, Ambassador Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez. Sir, magandang hapon and thank you for joining us. Welcome back to Storycon.
Good afternoon, Ambassador.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us. We
Sure.
can't see it. But anyway, sige. If it's okay with you, let's go on with it. Sir, just a few minutes ago, we were talking about yung bilateral security dialogue of which you were a part of nung Monday. Mogs, you wanna lead the question and answer?
Ambassador, kasi ang daming threads nung BSD na yan, no? Hindi lang military, hindi lang security, may economic at meron pang cyber security, no? Pero mas interested kami, Ambassador, sa security kasi meron daw additional cutting-edge missiles na i-deploy sa Pilipinas. At the same time, nag-promise ng $144 million na infrastructure projects sa mga EDCA sites natin. At meron pang FMS. Di lang natin alam kung magkano yung FMS na pinangako ng Amerika. Can you give us more details, Ambassador?
Well, as far as the missiles are concerned, I don't think I can give you any details. That will have to be dependent on our Defense Department, no? Because they're the ones. It's either it is a matter that of national security. However, but in the financing, yes, that's true. There's 144 million that is now programmed for the EDCA sites, and we just recently got from the U.S. Senate a 2.5 billion appropriation for the armed forces of the Philippines for its modernization program. It will be about $500 million per year for the next 5 years. But the challenge, of course, is to still get the actual appropriation from the Congress. Ang kanila doon, ang style niyan is you have the U.S. Senate gives it the go signal, but the appropriation of the funds is coming from the Congress. But because we have good bilateral support from the United States Congress, I think we will be able to get those funds almost, I guess, hopefully the full amount before the end of this year.
So, sir, the lower chamber still has the purse strings in the end. Pero, sir,
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir. But sir, how does that compare? The numbers you just cited, 500 million per year, more or less, or 2.5 billion for the next 5 years. How does that compare to the previous years? If there's any point of comparison.
Well, over the past 15 years, we got a maximum of about 600 million. So you can see that the funding from the U.S. Congress is very strong. Mainly, obviously, because it's in the national interest that we have a interoperability with their armed forces. So it's a full-blown operation that they're doing now because of our alliance. And yes, the discussions last Monday were clearly on the defense side, but we also have some economic discussions on the economic side.
Ambassador, you mentioned about the 2.5 billion dollar assistance from the US. How is it different from the PERA law that was proposed in Congress?
This is the one.
Ano ba yung PERA law o it's different?
Ito yung pera law na
This is PERA law.
sponsored by Senator Haggerty at saka Senator Kane. Senator Haggerty is a Republican from Tennessee, as si Senator Kane is from Virginia.
Okay. So yung naman pong sa EDCA sites, no? $144 million yung ilalagay ng Amerika dyan sa nine po ba na locations at ano po ang kanilang priority?
Well, the priority is to improve the sites, even yung mga, let's say for instance, yung mga runways that need to have stronger runways because they plan to deploy, or not deploy, but use it for the new aircraft. No, I don't know whether the F-35s are going to be landing in those areas, but that's part of the plan.
Sir, tapos yung 2.5 billion that you're referring to over the next 5 years, these are this is what you call defense credits ba? In other words, these are amounts that we have to use to buy US equipment with, or this is outright cash with which we can...
Foreign military financing, which is really very, very lenient terms that is given to allied countries. And of course, we have to buy all US-made defense.
Okay. Ambassador, kasi kasama dyan sa 2.5 billion, I remember that in the NDAA in December, they also provided 1 billion loan to the Philippines. Is the Philippines billing that, the loan?
Hindi nga eh. We were not ready for it eh. It was just presented to us parang last minute, pero we could not come out with a complete set of what we needed at that time. At saka itong mga ganito, even no matter what kind of a loan, it requires a lot of process. To be honest about it, I was very frustrated. I was very happy that this is being offered to us at very lenient terms. And this is part of the modernization. And we could just deploy it for anything we really felt was. In other words, we could be the one to dictate kung ano yung saan natin kung 1 billion. May process tayo that would take something like 4 to 5 months. They could not wait. It needed to be approved in less than a month, or about a month and a half, if I remember correctly. Sabi nga sa akin ni Secretary Teodoro na nasasayangan siya, pero proseso sa atin yan ngayon. Any loan has to go through rigorous processes, especially through the NEDA and to the finance and so forth and so on. Yes, I'm not even sure whether it has to pass to our Congress. The approval of this loan.
Kasi parang sabi ni Secretary Teodoro, he wanted reform sa modernization program. Kasi nailimit daw yung ang Defense Department in obtaining loans abroad.
Yes, that's
parang
true.
300 million lang yung
Something like that. Kaya nga it had to go through a long process. And so this 1 billion actually went to Poland.
Okay.
So wala na sa atin yan.
So yun ang, yun medyo, ito kasi naka-appropriate na yun. Sabi sa amin ng State Department, why don't you get this? Because you're priority kayo. Because if you don't get it, Poland is ready to receive it.
So we lost that opportunity, sir. Is there a chance that we can get that opportunity back again in some form or other?
Yeah, well, there'll be another opportunity that may come. Pero to be honest about it, we really have to have certain reforms, especially at this time when we have a lot of opportunities coming from the United States in a lot of aspects. No, in fact, there is a plan to have an a defense industrial eco zone, and that one will require some kind of legislation, but. Right now, our focus is obviously with the issues there in the Philippines now, here in the Philippines, and we need to be able to our priority should really be on things like this, that this is for the defense of the Philippines. We're facing a big challenge right now in many aspects, and I think that if we don't take this opportunity now, baka malusutan tayo one day. But that is what worries me a lot.
Sir, the 2.5 billion again, going back to that over 5 years, have we already identified more or less where we want to put the bulk of that financing? I do recall, kasi before we were talking about the possibility of getting fighter jets, either F-16s or a European model from Saab and down the line. Do we have an idea there?
Well, actually, si Secretary Teodoro has already some kind of an idea of the program that $500 million a year that they programmed it, mostly for defense purposes. Yung F-16 is a totally different procurement if we ever go through with it, because it's a $4.8 billion.
So much bigger.
It's a very large amount, and that requires really major funding. But hopefully we can get the financing for that by turning it into a commercial sale, which means to say we can get a loan, a soft loan from other entities from the United States that might be able to lend it to us on a longer term that will be more affordable for us.
Pastor, gusto lang confirm sa inyo, no, yung $500 million a year. Siguro ang priority daw po command and control and cybersecurity.
Yes. Right now, that is one of our biggest, what you call these priorities right now. Kasi diyan tayo may problema sa cybersecurity lalo na. Because, if we are to be, hope it never comes, pero kung may mangyari man na, interoperability right now, yung cyberspace is the key. Like, just to give you an example, yung nangyari do sa Venezuela when the United States decided to get Maduro, cyber was the key component of that whole exercise. They were able to jam everybody, and communications from the ground by the Venezuelan armed forces was almost zero.
Pati
That's why so the way they even show force yun, the United States showed force by what they can do without having any casualty whatsoever, and pick up a leader of a country and bring them to the United States. And that is, cybersecurity is one component that's very, very important, because everything is almost controlled to the cyberspace.
So sa Pilipinas po, yan ang ating isa sa mga vulnerabilities.
Absolutely. Pag hindi tayo we cannot operate with the United States as, for instance, if we need to have, kung ang ating cyberspace is penetratable, no? So kailangan talaga, it has to be really clear-cut na walang makakapasok dyan. And it requires a lot of resources to be able to do something like that.
Sir, kabi naman ako dun sa I know you don't. I know you cannot talk about the proposal to bring in more high-tech missiles, especially the details. But I'd like to ask you about the diplomatic side of that. The idea. Of course, we do know how in the past few weeks, medyo may kiskisan between several Philippine officials and the Chinese embassy here, and I suppose. It won't take much imagination to foresee that there might be an escalation once the Chinese realize that we are going to get more missiles from the U.S., missiles that may be able to reach the Chinese coastal cities. So I ask you, you as a veteran diplomat, how do you see things playing out, and how can we manage things on the diplomatic front?
Well, isa lang ang sagot natin dyan, which has been amplified on many occasions, even by Secretary Teodoro, and even the President himself. We are getting all of these things from an ally because we want to be able to have a defense. It's part of our defense strategy.
A credible defense.
It's purely for credible defense. The Chinese have already deployed missiles in Scarborough Shoal. I mean, it's really it's ironic that they're telling us, why are you getting this? When in fact, they're right at our doorstep. And it's being contested. So, sabi nga ng presidente, when we had a meeting with him, isa lang ang hinihingi niya. Huwag ninyo kaming harasin at saka allow our fishermen to fish where they've been fishing for more than 100 years. But sabi niya, we will cancel all of these agreements we have the United States on EDCA sites. But we have to defend ourselves. That's the bottom line, they're telling us to do this and do that. We will talk to you. They're even threatening us with coercion, economic coercion. Paano naman tayo mag-uusap sa kanila kung gano'n ang ano nila sa atin? And then every time there's an incident, they blame us for all of this. That's why it's very hard to really, on the diplomatic side, the Department of Foreign Affairs is tasked to try to find ways and means to be able to have a dialogue with a potential adversary like China. But how can we, when the public, our public here, is very much against the kind of activities that China's been doing over the past how many years now? That's why 85% of our people are supportive of our relationship with the United States. Makikita mo naman And of course, our politicians are playing up to what the people really feel. And so it's very difficult for really diplomats nowadays to try to find a way to be able to have a dialogue. Kung ganyan ang That's why we're asking the Chinese embassy in the Philippines to try to tone down dahil they're just adding more fire into already a fiery situation. And the only way is for us to have a sincere, really important dialogue that we can try to trace out. We will never agree on territorial claims, but at the very least, we can bring down the level of tension in the area. And the more these things happen, the more we lean towards our ally like the United States and other countries as well. Yun lang yun And that's why it's ironic that they're telling us, they're complaining about all of these things that we're doing. But look at the mirror and see what you're doing. That's all there is to it.
Yes, sir. Sir, if I may, sir, just to make sure I got it right, did I get you right that you said na as far as the president is concerned, itigil lang nila ang paghaharas nila sa ating mga mangingisda at sa ating mga vessels doon. And we could consider the possibility of canceling the agreements on the EDCA and all that.
Let's put it this way. The reason why we have all of this is plain and simple. We want to defend ourselves for what we feel, what our people feel, that we are being aggrieved by all of these movements that they're making. The mere fact that our fishermen cannot go out to do their livelihood is already an affront to us as a people. What do you expect the president to do? Obviously, we have a country that now jibes with our interests to protect our shores and our territorial claims. It is an old ally of ours. We've had the Mutual Defense Treaty since 1951. Then we take advantage of that relationship to be able to defend ourselves. Now, if there is none of this, let's turn back the clock to the early 1990s, or maybe even before that, and even during the time of President Marcos Sr., where we opened relations with China, we were at the high point of our relationship at some point in time. But it's that thing has gone down into a level that is very sad to say the least, no? Kasi they're our neighbor. We want to have we had a good relationship with our neighbor, and that's what we're working on. The Department of Foreign Affairs continues to try find ways and means to be able to reach out to China and have a real serious dialogue into finding ways where we can work together. We may never agree on the territorial claims, but at the very least, there are many common things that we can work with. Yun ang ating hinahanap dyan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, one more thing, sir. I'm not sure if I heard you right. You said the Chinese already have missiles on Scarborough Shoal, or were you referring to the artificial islands?
Well, no, the photos that we've seen shows that it's now a military base. We have been warning many of. We have been warning people about that for many years. That all of this buildup of these reefs and turning it to the base is now a fact. You know, Intelligence photos show clearly that it's now a military base.
So, Ambassador, ito bang Scarborough ay na-reclaim na ng China?
Well, alam mo naman yung history dyan. Nandyan tayo noon. And really, ito, I think both whoever, let me just go back to what happened in the 1990s. We were already occupying that area. Meron na tayong mga sundalo doon and whatever it is that we had. And at that time, the Chinese, of course, were also present there. Then Secretary, or now, he was our Secretary of Foreign Affairs and he was our ambassador to Japan, si Jun Siason, Domingo Siason. Yeah, he wanted to run for Secretary General of the United Nations at that time. So he told, kasi our military was prepared to already build something there para meron na tayong, nandun na tayo talaga permanente na. Pero sinabi niya kay President Ramos, kung pwede, wag na muna natin gawin yan kasi kailangan niya na suporta na ng China. Just so that he will be able to get in as a Secretary General. This is what I read in the history or some of the readouts on what happened at that time. So hindi natuloy yung ating plano to build something in that area. So ang nangyari diyan, parang temporary yung stay natin diyan. And then of course we know what happened. I think it was during the time of President Obama or President Clinton. I don't know what period it is. I think it was already the time of President Obama when we were asked by the Americans to bring down the tension because at that time the United States was still having special relations with the United States. So sabi nila kaming bahala sa Chinese. You leave that place and we will make sure the Chinese leave. We left, but the Chinese never left.
Yes, sir.
So that's what happened there.
Nabudol tayo, Ambassador.
Yun ang nangyari sa atin dyan. So, yun ang masakit sa atin. So, we technically almost lost, well, basically we lost it, no? Kasi nandyan na sila, eh. So, yan ang masakit yan sa nangyari dyan sa area na yan, eh. And that's why we have to stand our ground now. Kaya yung Ayugan Shoal and all of this, Mao Masinloc and all of that, hindi na tayo papayag na maalis tayo dyan. At, kasi pag umalis, alam mo, what they say, ano ba sabi nila sa real estate, if you're there, it is yours. Pag umalis ka dyan, that's it. You lose it. You snooze, you lose.
Sir, what about the BNP Sierra Madre? Kasi there was a time, although I think things have improved now, but there was a time na there were really concerns that the ship would eventually collapse. But I understand that there have been a lot of improvements over the years. But have you gotten any idea from your talks with the president on moving forward what the plan is as far as the Sierra Madre is concerned? Are we going to build a better area there? Are we going to reinforce it?
Well, eventually there is a plan to really have some permanent structures in that area. Because that one is really ours. So we definitely, that's part of the plan of being able to put a permanent structure. Because we don't intend to give that area up. We learned our lesson already.
With Scarborough.
Oh, we learned our lesson. We cannot allow that to happen to us because, this is a security situation. And because of that area that is now controlled by the Chinese, they're able to launch all of this, what they call the gray ships or whatever it is, to harass our fishermen. Hindi nga sila makapasok eh. And that is a very rich fishing ground for our fishermen. And ako, I talked to the fishermen myself personally not too long ago. I feel so bad for them. They go out there early in the morning. They come back. They hardly have enough even fish to feed their family. E negosyo nila yan eh.
Oo, gumagasa sila dyan.
Exactly. Yun ang masakit yan eh. Sila ang unang natatamaan dyan. That is their livelihood. And that is for generations. That has always been the case. You see?
Pero Ambassador, yung bang provisional agreement dyan sa Ayungin is still holding?
Well, that is one example of how a dialogue with China can work. Diyan, at least masasabi natin na they claim it, we claim it, nandyan yung ating mga sundalo. So it is a humanitarian, what do you call this, agreement in a way. No? Dahil you don't want our soldiers there to die of hunger or no water or whatever. Pero there are many ways of being able to trace out some of these issues. And this is what we're hoping for at the Department of Foreign Affairs. And that's why this thing about the continuing tension that is being, well, I don't want to say it's being perpetrated by one side or the other. The bottom line is we're hoping that these types of exchanges will start to simmer down so we can sit down and be more serious about ways and means. Lalo na ngayon that we're the chair of the ASEAN Summit. There's an opportunity for us to show a lot of statesmanship in dealing with situations like this. We're very hopeful that the Code of Conduct, which is an important document after more than 2 decades that we've been working on it, will start moving in the right direction. And an agreement can come into place.
Before asking you about the Code of Conduct, gusto ko lang malaman kung yung bang provisional agreement sa Ayungin is a model for the Philippines and other countries to negotiate with China?
Well, there are countries, Vietnam is a good example that, in fact, magaling ang Vietnam eh. Tayong nasa forefront, sila quietly, they're building their own, some of it is even part of ours, no? But since we have good relations with Vietnam, but theirs, they've been able to build, and it's being claimed also by China. They were able to build a structure, or even, I think it's probably even a base, if I'm not mistaken. And yet they're able to have a relationship with China. They have very strong economic trade. So it's a good model for that one. Yung Ayungin Shoal is a model for dialogue that can resolve issues instead of us fighting it out into the sea by blaming each other, by itong mga cannons and water cannons and lasers and so forth and so on. Very high on tension dyan noon. At least now it's simmered down.
Sir, going back to the Code of Conduct, sabi ng DFA, they wanted that negotiations to be concluded in Manila this year. Are you also confident that that will happen?
Well, let's put it this way. It's an opportunity for us. We're talking to many of our ASEAN friends, and they're hopeful just as we are. And they would like to see something like this because at the end of the day, this code of conduct will give us a picture of what the future will be like. Ang importante sa lahat at the end of the day is economic activity. And ASEAN is a growing market. And because of what's happening now with the United States, the Trump administration is on the America First mantra. It's an opportunity for many countries to start looking at other markets. And China is one of them. They need another market outside of the United States. And the ASEAN, we're about close to 700 million people, a big market. Europe, the same thing. So there's a lot of economic opportunities. Pero kailangan, we have to find ways and means to have some form of decorum that will not, that the security situation will not be in the forefront. Because business is security is number one in terms of investments. If a country is not in turmoil or there's a situation like what's happening in Europe right now in Ukraine, the businessmen will shy away from investing at this point in time.
Yes, sir. Okay. We'd like to say thank you very much to our ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez. Thank you, sir, for joining us this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you to both of you. Thank you.
You're watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a break. We'll be right back. We've got developing news in the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao, and of course with us, One News Defense Editor, Mr. Manuel Mogato.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Bok, bago ba yung sinabi ni Ambassador Babe Romualdez na dun sa Sierra Madre, eventually we will build a permanent spot there?
Meron ng permanent structure sa loob ng barko, Bok.
So, parang Voltes 5, magko-collapse yung labas tapos lilitaw yung bagong bago na sa
parang
loob?
transformer. Bumagsak yung old structure na kalawangin, merong nakatayong structure sa loob na konkreto.
So meron ng meron ng structures.
Oo, ginawa yan since sa panahon ni Pinoy.
Parang may bunker na sa loob.
Oo, correct. Oo.
Okay. But I don't know, was that the first time that was announced publicly?
I think so. Pati yung missile sa Scarborough, ngayon ko lang narinig yan.
And I think I think baka nagkamali lang siya eh. I don't think he was referring to Scarborough. He was referring kasi to photos na may aircraft na and all that. So I think he's referring to yung mga artificial islands.
Mischief.
Sa Mischief. Baka nalito lang siya eh. Kasi he was referring to photos that we've already seen daw and may mga aeroplano.
Kung merong missile sa Scarborough, bago yan.
Oo, tsaka wala kang paglalagyan sa Scarborough eh.
Wala kasi bato-bato yun eh.
Ilang metro lang nakalito doon. Not unless you do reclamation like what they did with the artificial islands, which is going to be very, very obvious.
Yeah,
So that's why I had to ask him. That's why I had to ask him. Did I hear you right that you said may missiles sa Scarborough? So I think he just got confused with the islands or the rocks.
Okay.
Because they're not really islands, but they're rocks. Okay, let's bring in our Mojo from Malacanang. Our mobile journalist Julie Barza reports us live. Julie, kamusta dyan sa Malacanang?
Yes, Boxer Manny, few updates nga from Palace Press Officer Claire Castro. Kinumpirma kanina ni Castro na itatalagang bagong director ng National Bureau of Investigation, si Attorney Melvin Matibag. Papalitan niya si Attorney Angelito Magno na nakakaupo lang sa pwesto nitong Oktubre. Wala pang sinasabing dahilan yung palasyo kung bakit nga raw po papalitan si Magno. Pero yung pagkakatalaga naman daw kay Matibag, maaari nakakita ang Pangulo na pwede siyang pagkatiwalaan. For us interesting choice itong si Attorney Matibag dahil kilalang Duterte alay. Naupo siya bilang Cabinet Secretary ng Office of the President ng Duterte Administration and incumbent Secretary General ng PDP laban. Pero nitong 2024 nakita rin natin na medyo may slight shift na doon sa mga statement niya kasi narinig na rin natin na may pasundot-sundot siya sa mga miyembro ng pamilya Duterte. For example, noong 2024 sa isang interview, tinawag niyang Bartenela si Vice President Sara Duterte. And pihit naman po tayo konti, pabalik naman doon sa usapan ng eleksyon. Natanong na rin kanina si Castro tungkol naman doon sa Sara Amy tandem. Ang sabi ni Yusek Claire, wala pa daw tugon ang Pangulo, pero yan naman daw yung tinawag na rin before na team itim, yung team kadiliman. Wala pa rin daw update kung may nililigawan yung admin na pwedeng susuportahan o magiging manok sa 2028 elections. Pero kanina kasi nakapink si Yusek Claire, kaya nga natanong siya, ang sabi niya nagpink lang naman daw at wag naman daw, nabigyan naman daw agad ng mali siya. And yung paglutang din kasi nung usapan ng BBM and Pink is lumutang din after naman nag-post itong si Naga City Mayor Leni Robredo na nagpe-prepare siya para sa pagbisita ni PBBM. Kinumpirma naman po ng palasyo kanina na magkikita nga sina Robredo at si Marcos, pero para daw po yun sa pagbisita sa Naga dahil may ilulunsad na kontrabaha na proyekto naman ng DPWH doon. Kung magkakaroon ng pag-uusap, abangan na lang daw kasi mangyayari po itong meeting or yung pagkikita na ito sa Sabado. Hindi pa rin daw sigurado kung mapapag-usapan din yung plano sa 2028. Lastly, dito sa palasyo, hindi naman din daw naaapektuhan yung pagtatrabaho ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos doon sa naging anunsyo ng pagdakbo ni VP Sara. Yung mga tirada daw ng Vice Presidente, ano pa daw ba yung sasagutin ng Pangulo? Matagal naman na daw na puro fake news po yung sinasabi daw ng Vice Presidente.
Well,
Okay.
Sige, Mike Mogs.
Ay, tatanong ko lang, ano mangyari kay Magno? Will he go back as Deputy Director ng NBI?
Hindi pa po natin alam ngayon sa NBI, hindi pa rin sila nagbibigay ng statement kanina after ng announcement. No? Wala pang any paper. Si Attorney Melvin, na itanong na nga rin nung tinext nung ilan sa mga kasama natin, wala pa rin daw po siyang schedule ng oath-taking. So parang ngayon, yun hinintay natin, appointment paper, hindi rin daw po alam kung ano yung naging marching orders ng Pangulo kay Attorney Melvin.
Pero,
Okay.
Bok, I suppose yung sa kaso ni Attorney Melvin, kasi yan ang mas nakakagulat sa lahat eh. I suppose from the point of view ng Malacanang, talagang tumalon siya ng bakod. I suppose by that, tingin ng Malacanang, kumpirmadong nagbago siya ng ihip ng hangin. Kasi I do remember nung panahon ni Duterte, siya yung frontliner doon sa PDP laban sa
Yes.
Matibag Kusi wing, which is the Duterte wing in the PDP laban.
Tsaka SecGen Bok, SecGen ng PDP laban. And pero yun nga po, based kasi kanina din namin binabalikan, based dun sa mga recent statements niya, ilang beses din pong binira etong si VP Sara. Yung una niyang tinawag na Bratinela, yung issue ng confidential funds yun eh.
Pero siya ba ay umalis na sa PDP laban?
Hindi pa po natin nakukumpirma, pero sa site ng PDP laban ang nakalagay incumbent Secretary General.
Okay.
Pero minsan kasi mga websites hindi binabago ng
Baka hindi
webmaster.
updated. Yun nga po yung sasabi namin, baka kasi former to, hindi lang updated. So, kumukontak pa po tayo sa PDP laban.
Kasi I would imagine that if he accepted an appointment from the president and the president chose to appoint him as NBI chief, I would think that he had switched sides already. Di ba, Mogs?
Oo.
Hindi ka na pwede mamangka sa dalawang ilog. Lalo na sa puntong ito. Paano mamangka sa dalawang ilog sa puntong ito?
Tsaka mahirap naman pong, tama naman din yung sinasabi ni Yusek Claire kanina, na siguro nakitang pagkakatiwalaan. Kasi mahirap mag-appoint, very crucial yung NBI. Tapos ang i-appoint mo, someone na hindi mo din talaga fully trusted. So, mukhang nagkausap naman na rin talaga. Hindi nga lang po makapag-squeeze pa ng more information kanina.
Okay.
Of course, ang next question dyan is ano yung background ni Melvin Matibag for him to become NBA director?
Baka marami siyang dalang sikreto.
Diba? I know
Ang
NBA
lumalabas
agents...
lang, CABSEC
although I know NBA
and
agents
PDP.
are typically supposed to be lawyers or CPAs, at least in the olden days. Pero for you to be the NBA director, kahit pa paano you're expected to have law enforcement background eh.
Correct, oo. Dahil mong pa-arrest.
May wife din po na kongresista pala.
Yeah. Laguna ata. I don't recall kung
Yes,
anong
Laguna po,
probinsya. Laguna
Laguna.
ba? So yun, that's going to be something very interesting to look at and look into and see where that heads. Okay? Mogs, ikaw, may tanong ka ba?
Thank you, Julie.
Okay, maraming salamat sa iyo, mobile journalist Julie Baiza reporting live from Malacanang. And now we get updates from the Senate. Of course, we have there our Mojo Merimon Reyes. Merimon, kamusta sa Senado? Naglabas na ba si Bam Aquino ng kanyang pinangakong statement?
Bok, Manny, good afternoon. So far dito kay Senator Bam Aquino, wala pa yung statement na sinasabi niya. Meron daw siya pertaining dun sa remarks niya na kesyo dapat daw litisin yung mga kaso na may kinalaman sa EJK, yung war on drugs sa mga local courts. And ito nga nakakuha ito ng negative na komento from former Senator Storycon na naging insensitive daw yung komento na to. Pero
Kaya
so far,
inaabangan
ang
ng
lumabas
lahat.
na related dito sa ICC development ay yung resolution ng minority. Pirmado ito ng 9 members ng minority, so either more likely e-signature yung kay Senator Bato de la Rosa. Ito yung sinasabi kahapon ni Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano na ito yung expressing the sense of the Senate na ina-urge na respetuhin ang mga lokal na korte para sa paglilitis sa mga kasong may kinalaman sa mga Filipino citizens. Ang sinasabi ito ni Senator Alan, hindi naman daw ibig sabihin na pagka meron daw arrest warrant from the ICC or from a foreign court, court, kukunin na lang daw, dadamputin, tapos dadalhin na raw sa ibang bansa. Ang inaasahan nila dito, yung mga arrest warrant na ganyan, dadaan daw muna sa local courts, and as much as possible, mabigyan din ng panahon pa para sa ibang mga local remedies na maaaring puntahan. Ito kasi yung kasunod ng napangalanan, si Senator Bato de la Rosa at si Senator Bongo ng ICC as co-perpetrators sa war on drugs ng Administrasyong Duterte.
Verimon, kasi siyam lang naman pumirma dyan, no? Minority. Anong chance na ma-adapt yan ng Senate?
Yan ang isa sa inaabangan
natin.
natin.
Majority.
Yes, tama, Manny. Kasi dapat from the minority, lalakad naman yan ngayon sa majority bago pa siya masalang sa plenary floor. So far, wala pa tayong nakukuhang komento from SP Soto kung inapaikot na ba to. Kasi ang nasabi pa lang sa atin din ng staff ni Senator Alan, ang pinakaginawa muna nila is inipon nila, kinumpile nila yung signatures from the minority. Kaya nung nakita natin yung kopya, hiwa-hiwalay siya na yung ilang pages, for example, pirma lang ni Senator Ivy nakita natin, yung isang page yung pirma ni Senator Bato, yung isa magkakasama sila Senator Alan. Kaya so far, yun yung na-accomplish pa lang nila sa araw na ito. The next step moving forward, ang inaasahan din kasi ng minority is yung liderato ng Senado, tutulungan din daw sila na panghawakan yung mga karapatang pantao, especially kapag umabot na sa punto na mayroon ng arrest warrants laban dito kay Senator Bato at kay Senator Bongo.
Well, that's going to be...
Meron man sabi nung majority, hindi sila papayag na may ma-arrestong senador habang in session. Pero wala sa saligang batas yan eh. Kasi sa saligang batas, up to 6 years lang. Pagka more than 6 years, pwedeng arrestuin. Ano bang sabi ng majority dyan?
Actually, nilinaw yan ni Senator Rizon Teveros nitong isang araw. Ang sinabi niya, paglilinaw niya raw, na sa ilalim ng batas, kapag more than 6 years at hindi in session ang Senado, pwedeng maaresto ang mga senador. Yung tradisyon daw na nababanggit na kapag in session, wala raw pwedeng maaresto na senador, yan yung inaasahan niya na mapag-uusapan ng majority sa caucus. Pero so far, sinasabi ni SP Tito Soto, sa ngayon, wala pa raw sila pag-uusapan kapag meron daw may nais magko-call daw siya ng caucus tungkol dyan. And yan din sinasabi ni Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson na yung technicalities, especially pagdating sa charges, yun yung hindi pa sure kasi hindi pa nga alam kung ito bang si Senator Bato, si Senator Bongo, kung meron ng mako-convict na sila ng charges, less than or more than 6 years ba ang pagkakabilanggo na mapapataw sa kanila. So yan yung ilan sa mga kailangan nilang i-consider moving forward.
But what's also interesting kasi Bok is yung earlier statement ni Ping Lacson na dapat dumaan na sa local courts kung mayroong mga arrest warrant na ilalabas against the Bato and the Bongo. I remember si Senator Ping Lacson, who's also Senate President Pro Tempore, also made that position last week. Tama ba? Am I getting that right? I recall that position So in that sense, medyo pareho sila ng posisyon ng minorya ngayon if you go by what Ping Lacson said.
So far, Bok, yun yung pinaka nagre-resonate ngayon kasi may nabanggit din si Senator Bam na yung paglilitis sa local court, si Senator Ping Lacson, ganun din. So, and then from the minority, sina Senator Robin, sina Senator Alan, ito yung common na nagiging note nila. Kaya ang sabi rin ni Senator Robin kahapon nung nakapanayam siya ng media, naririnig niya rin naman daw yung ilan na senador from the majority na ganito rin yung nagiging pananaw. So umaasa sila na makukuha nila yung suporta ni liderato tungkol daw sa usapin na to.
Okay. Mogs, we have another guest coming up. So let's let Merrimon Reyes go already. Maraming salamat sa iyo. Mojo Merrimon Reyes reporting live from the Senate. And now we bring in Manila 3rd District Congressman Joel Chua, also a member of the House Justice Committee, a very, very important committee, especially at this point in time. Congressman, welcome back to Storycon. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon din po sa lahat ng inyong mga taga-subaybay.
Yes, sir. Sir, marami nakantabay ngayon kung ano mangyari sa Justice Committee. Alam ko, may nag-file kahapon ng ika-4 na impeachment complaint against VP Sara. Pero at the same time, nag-aabang yung mga tao kung kailan i-refer ng Speaker's Office yung anuman o lahat ng impeachment complaints against VP Sara to the Justice Committee. Yung nga lang, I think once that referral is done, then it's already considered initiated, so wala nang ibang hahabol. Can you give us po a timeline? What are we looking at? Have you guys discussed any timeline as far as that is concerned?
Well, for now, I expect that by Monday, it will be included in the order of business.
Opo.
Because on Monday, that will be the 10th
Session day.
Session day.
Mhm.
So, bibilang lang po tayo ng another 3 days.
Opo.
By March 1, dapat nasa Committee on Justice na po yan.
March 1 ang cutoff.
Yan po. Dapat nasa Committee on Justice na po yan.
Okay. Pero sir, have you heard of anybody planning to file a fifth impeachment complaint? Or meron bang rumblings at all within the chamber of any move to go the second route, yung 1/3 endorsed by members of Congress?
Well, as of now, wala pa naman akong naririnig. Although kahapon, nagulat din ako dito sa fourth impeachment complaint that was filed, that was endorsed by Congressman Abante and Congressman Ortega. So, other than that, wala naman po akong alam pa kung merong move to file or to go for the second mode of impeachment.
Ang mukhang dadaan sa proseso itong impeachment ni VP Sara.
Sa Justice Committee.
Shortcut.
Kung ito po ay ganun po yung mangyayari, inaasahan po natin by Monday, hindi po next week, kundi sa March 1, magkakaroon na po ng committee hearing sa Committee on Justice.
Oh, tama. March 1, bale. Tama nga. Next Monday.
Meron bang
Next week po kasi,
deadline yung
23.
Justice Committee to conclude yung kanilang deliberations?
60 days po. 60 session days.
60 days. Session days o 60 calendar days?
Well, kasi po, ang pagkakalam ko po, session yata. Hindi ako sure.
Well,
Basta
sir, sa
60
Constitution
days.
po, it says session days But yun nga, if you go by the interpretation, the recent interpretation ng Supreme Court, medyo nagbago yung interpretations.
Pinagkaiba po kasi nung dalawa, nung 60 calendar, ang ginawa po kasi nila, before po kasi, pag sinabi mong 60 per session day, kahit po ngayon, halimbawa ngayon po may session po ngayon,
Yes, sir.
hindi po kami nag-adjourn, tinuloy po ito the following day,
Suspended lang.
Considered as one session day lang po yan. Even though na 2 araw po nag-conduct ng session day. But because of the latest ruling of the Supreme Court, ito pong huli, they changed the meaning of the session day. Instead, for purposes of impeachment, they interpreted it as calendar day.
Calendar days with session.
Opo, kasi considering na ang session day po namin is Monday to Wednesday lamang, so yun po yung bilang. Every Monday to Wednesday, 3 session days.
Sir, pasensya po, we're not lawyers pero tell me lang if I'm getting this right. Pag naiakit na po, pag nai-refer na sa komite ang alinman sa mga impeachment complaints against VP Sara, then sarado na ang tindahan. Wala nang ibang bagong pwedeng isampa na reklamo.
Tama po kayo dahil nagkaroon na po ng action ang Kongreso. So because of that, magpapasok na po yung 1-year bar rule.
So kung sakaling ang March 1 mangyayari yan, tindahan sarado na. At least for the next year.
Na po. Opo. Tama po kayo.
Sir, but if I may, I don't know if it's speculative at this point, but let me try to risk it anyway. Looking at the temper of your colleagues in Congress, especially after yesterday's announcement of VP Sara Duterte that she is running for the presidency, and considering na ang sabi ng marami, the timing was intended apparently to head off an impeachment bid by the Congress and the Senate. What is your perspective po of the temper in Congress at this point as far as impeaching the Vice President is concerned?
Well, as of yesterday, di naman po nagulat ang marami Because siguro mas magugulat pa kami pagka sinabi niya hindi siya tatakbo.
Sa bagay.
So expected naman po yan. And of course, we respect her decision to announce her presidential bid early. Kung ano man po yung kanilang strategy, nare-respeto naman po natin yan.
Kasi sir, we talked yesterday to Harry Roque, ang dating tagapagsalita ni Pangulong Duterte. We talked to him on the phone. Ang sabi niya, itong timing ni VP Sa Duterte is parang meant to be a warning to legislators. Parang babala na ito tatakbo ako. So magkakasubukan tayo. Parang ganun. I'm wondering what you think of that.
Well, kung yun ang kanilang intention, hindi ko po alam. But kami naman, we will just do what is our constitutional duty, and that is to, in the event na magkaroon ng form and substance, talagang wala kaming choice except to hear the impeachment complaint that were filed before the Committee on Justice.
So, hindi po na nasindak ang mga congressman kay VP Sara.
Tingin ko po, tapos na yung sindak dahil kung sindak talagang matatagal na po kami mga takot So, wala na po sigurong tatakutin pa.
Ayun, oo.
Pero sir, do you think that you could get the numbers this time around? One-third. I think it's 105 ata pag one-third, no?
105.
Well, I don't think that is hard enough considering na kung may basis naman talaga, there is no reason for congressman to not to act on it or to vote on it. Kung makikita naman, very glaring naman, very obvious naman yung mga grounds. So, ano naman ang magiging dahilan para hindi ito pagbotohan?
Yes, sir. Well, I asked that, sir, kasi basically it's the same complaint as the ones filed in December 2024 and also in January 2025. Basically, ang nagbago lang naman yung pagdagdag ng affidavit ni sino yung
Naga.
Naga. Oo.
Maramil.
So basically,
Maramil,
you're looking at the
Naga.
same complaint that you guys faced and considered in 2025.
Well, I do not know dahil wala pa naman akong nababasa, wala pang nai-refer sa amin. So, as of now, I cannot say na parehas.
Okay.
Okay, kasi parang Bok, nadagdagan dyan yung threat ng new VP Sara kay Pangulong Marcos. At
Hindi, kasama na yun sa Hindi kasama yun sa 2025
Ngayon, kaya bago yun. Idinagdag yun doon sa port complaint.
Well, ako, I will not be surprised considering that the decision of the Supreme Court in both instances, yung una po at yung pangalawa, they did not touch on the substance. Purely technical naman So,
that's correct. Yes, sir.
Possible naman na talagang yung mga substance nun i-adapt pa rin ng mga complainants.
Okay. Maraming salamat
Okay, salamat po.
Thank you for talking to us. Congressman Joel Chua ng
Maraming
Maynila.
salamat po at mabuhay po kayo.
At taga-justice, member po ng Justice Committee ng House of Representatives. And we are on until 5:30 p.m. Storycon will be right back after a quick break. Please stay tuned. It's the last stretch of the program. Welcome back to Storycon. I'm Ed Lingao, and of course with us, One News Defense Editor Manny Magato. Mogs, maraming salamat at hindi mo ako binibitawan habang ako'y nag-iisa dito.
Thank you very much.
Ating
may siopaw po niya, may siopaw.
Wala Tanong natin yung kausap natin ngayon, baka may dala siyang siopaw.
Pwede. Yan. Maraming dalang siopaw yan.
We're talking of course
Chinese New Year
We're talking of course to Erin Tanyada, ang Pangulo po ng Liberal Party. Magandang hapon po and thank you for joining us.
Magandang hapon, Ed and Manny at sa lahat na nanonood ng Storycon.
Yes, sir. Sir, of course,
Kung
you know what we're going to ask you about. VP Sara yesterday declaring she is running for president, and that leaves the magic question to everybody, especially in the opposition. What happens now to the opposition? Has there been any decision or any movement towards a decision on who to field in 2028?
yeah.
As of now, wala pa, no? Merong mga pag-uusap na nangyayari, and one of the things that will have to be discussed, no, would be ano yung proseso na dadaanan ng mga interesadong lumahok mula sa kampo ng opposition laban kay Sara Duterte. So that's one. But there's a general agreement, of course, that there only has to be one candidate. So basically, that's it, no? The timetable would be towards the third or fourth quarter of this year. Kailangan kasi maging inclusive yung discussions with regard to the selection process.
Yes, sir.
Kung ano bang mga parameters na hinahanap nyo para piliin yung kandidato?
Well, pag-uusapan pa rin yan, Manny. There's supposed to be, if you remember a little of our history, there's supposed to be a convener group that would meet and talk about the selection process, and that should be acceptable to those who will participate in the selection process. And one of the other factors that is being discussed, no, how do we make it more inclusive for the other sectors of society to participate? At the same time, how to not make it too unwieldy, kung masyadong maraming sumasama sa prosesong yun. So ito yung mga kailangan pag-usapan pa at this point. Pero yun nga, expected naman sa panig ng opposition na tatakbo talaga si Vice President Sara, pero yung timing, of course, we didn't expect it this early, and there must have been a motive behind that. And so like we said, it is a right to run for the position, and she should welcome whatever impeachment proceedings that there will be, because it is an opportunity. If she really believes and that she did not do anything wrong, it's the opportunity to clear her name in this forum. So ito yung pagkakataon niya. And who knows, no? Who knows, Manny and Ed, kung talagang may pakita niya, wala siyang ginawang masama, wala siyang pinirmahan o may anomalya man sa term niya bilang vice president, then it might even make her stronger. So ang susukatan talaga ngayon yung integridad ni VP Sara Duterte dito sa prosesong ito.
Pero kung doon ba sa opposition mayroon ng shortlist ng possible candidate for 2028?
Well, yung clear, yung dalawang nag-announce that they are open, no? But again, it's still too early. Until everyone, you've seen the picture. Everyone in that picture, at least 4 of them, finally this is it, no? Tells everyone in that conveners group, no, na talagang hindi ako sasama, then that would be it, no? Pero out of the 4, dalawa ang at this point are open, no, to run, and they are of course Senator Risa Ontiveros and Senator Bam Aquino. Ang dalawang tahimik pa rin, of course, who may we consider, no? I'm not saying that they will, Senator Kiko Pangilinan and Mayor Leni Robredo.
Pero
Baka
sir,
naman untay tayo ng matagal, Kong, kasi nung 2016, matagal bago nag-decide si VP Leni. Baka
I think-
yung mangyari.
I think, Manny, alam na natin lahat 'yon, no? Kung bakit nangyari, ganong katagal. Merong objective at the time si VP Leni, sana magkaroon ng isang kandidato lang yung tatakbo laban kay President Marcos. Pero hindi nangyari yung inaasahan niyang magkakaroon ng isang kandidato. So she had to make that decision on the week of the filing of certificates of candidacies. And I think based on experience, hindi lalagpas maybe ng first quarter of 2027. Meron na rin talagang isang kandidato na lalaban kay VP Sara.
Pero sir, well, something that might be an existential question, kasi to begin with, of course, we're asking about who the common opposition candidate is going to be. On the other hand, if you ask the Duterte group, they consider themselves the opposition, and that's how they present themselves to be versus the administration of Bongbong Marcos. And further down the line, you also have that other question na what are the chances of a meeting of minds of sorts between the traditional opposition, which is, I suppose, what you might call your group, and somebody who is not a member of the opposition, somebody who is more affiliated with the existing administration, if only to have a common candidate. Has that played in your mind? Ano yung mga possibilities na yan and probabilities na yan?
Well, of course, hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na hindi pinag-iisipan. Kung babalikan, Ed, yung experience nung 2022, we were hoping at that time na hindi magkakaisa ang panig ni
Marcos
President
Duterte.
Bongbong and Vice President Sara, at kung hindi sila magkakaisa at magkakaroon ng three-way fight, no? Not that we're discounting the other participants who ran in 2022. Kung hindi sila nagkaisa, meron kaming pagtingin na baka may pag-asang nanalo si
Leni.
VP Leni. Pero nung nagkaisa sila, it was clear na it would be an uphill battle. No? So again, looking at 2028, ang importante para sa hanay ng opposition namin, sa bakod namin, kailangan magpalakas ng organisasyon sa ground.
Yes,
no,
sir.
that is important.
Yes, sir.
And once we have a strong ground force that would move, no, then who knows? Baka may lumapit, baka walang lumapit, at kung magkakaroon ng three-way fight, no, in the 2028 elections, depending on who the candidate is, it might still be favorable for our side of the fence.
If there's a three-way fight, meaning may Marcos affiliated group on one hand, on the second spot would be the Duterte group, and the third spot would be, or the third candidate would be the traditional opposition, in other words.
Yes, yun pinag-aaralan namin. How it will look on the ground, kung paano gagalaw ang bawat grupo pagdating ng halalan. So these are things, no, it's not necessarily a one-on-one fight. It might be a three-way fight. And we should be prepared for a three-way fight and study kung ano yung magiging vote distribution in the different regions and provinces if this happens.
Pero Mogs, can I throw in one more question before I throw it back to you? Pero sir, of course, the question in a lot of people's minds is, what are the possibilities of the traditional opposition finding common ground with somebody more affiliated with the Marcos administration? Kasi in that sense, then you would have to have some sort of a compromise. Of course, you do remember and you do realize that there are people in the traditional opposition who are not comfortable dealing with the Marcos administration for obvious reasons.
Ed, the way I'll answer that, we'll have to cross the bridge when we get to that point. Because it's hard to say at this point that the Marcos camp will not field the candidate. So it's going to be a speculation on our part. So kami sa Liberal Party, ang marching orders sa chapters and members namin is we prepare the ground as early as now. And we make sure that whoever the candidate will be, come last quarter of this year, handa natin ipakilala, handa namin ikampanya sa taong bayan, pagdating ng panahon na pinili na namin yon. Ngayon, kung makita ng isang kampo na malakas ang kabilang panig, like I said, we'll cross the bridge when we get there. We will see how we will discuss different issues. It should be based on principles. Of course, we know that there are things that will have to be compromised, but there would also be, I'm sure, and this will have to be processed with not only one group, but other groups that will be part of the selection process. Ano yung mga non-negotiables?
Kung tanong ko naman sa inyo, what lessons have you learned from the 2025 midterm elections that can be brought to the 2028 elections? Kasi parang nagbago yung attitude and behavior ng ating mga electorate, no? Dati, puro artista Tsaka parang nag-iisip na ngayon ng mga botante. Is that a factor, tingin nyo?
I think it's a factor. Lalo-lalo na pabataan ng pabata ang voters natin. Sabi nga, tayong mga boomers, kasama kan Manny at ni Ed.
Ay, hindi
Ed, kasama.
Hindi
Paunti na tayo, Sayang nga, hindi tayo napasama sa Gen X pero yun nga, admittedly, ang millennials, Gen Zs, and Gen Alphas, the first 3 years of Gen Alphas, sila yung magiging majority ngayon sa 2028. And ang tinitignan talaga nila, ano yung kinabukasan ba nila dito sa ating bansa? And they are looking for things that are doable, that candidates have done. And that, I think, plays a lot sa voting preference ng ating mga kandidato. Ano yung nagawa? Ano yung sinabi at ano yung nagawa? Hindi yung pinangako lang tapos hindi na nagawa. So, mukhang ganun yung trend ng ating mga kabataan ngayon. Kaya, I think, if you look at the results of Sen Bam and Sen Kiko, it was not only the youth that carried them, but even cross-section. So it included the boomers and the people who are a bit older than the boomers. And the question will be, of course, will that same attitude carry to the 2028 elections.
Sir, last question, sir. Pasingit lang, sir. Of course, you've heard what happened or what was attributed to Senator Bam Aquino. I know he's not with the Liberal Party, but kahit paano he's affiliated with the group. I'm talking about yung whether the trial of EJK should be conducted in the Philippines or in The Hague. He was quoted as saying, ideally, it should be in the Philippines. Are you aware of his position as far as that is concerned? Because we've been waiting for him to clarify, and he has not clarified, although he promised to clarify since yesterday. Have you heard of his position or of any position he's made in the last few years about it? Secondly, si Trillanes was saying that in 2022, during the campaign, sinabi raw sa kanya ni Bam tsaka ni Leni that if they were to win daw, then they would not want to have Duterte brought to the ICC or The Hague. We talked to Barry Gutierrez yesterday. Barry said, I never heard of that from Leni herself. But have you heard of any policy statements as far as that is concerned from either Leni or Bam?
No, I have not heard, no. And I'll leave it to maybe those who are more familiar. I think Barry, since he was with the Office of the President, is more familiar with what Vice President Leni was saying during her 6 years, no, as Vice President. So it's hard for me to go beyond Barry when I'm not in the same room as the Vice President. So I'll leave it at that. I'll let also Bam explain his clarification with regard to this, because I've seen that it went viral and it caused a lot of reactions from maybe, or surprise from maybe even within the same group that we are in.
Yes, sir. Pero sir, but as far as you are concerned and your constituency is concerned, what is the position of? I'm not even going to say the Liberal Party. I suppose I should ask you what, from your perspective, is the position of your group, and that includes everybody from LP to Akbayan down the line.
Well, let's just say let's leave it at that. No, I wouldn't want any more to add to the discussions that are happening on the ground, and it might add again fuel to the fire. So pabayaan na natin. I'm sure the people in the Liberal Party have privately raised what did Bam actually mean. I have not talked to Bam. But we have decided just to leave it as it be right now, and of course also there the statements coming from the Senate also with regard to what happens to Senator Bato and Go. That is also something that has to be thought through, because these are legal questions that have to be faced, especially with the fact that our Constitution is very clear that if the penalty is more than 6 years, walang exemption to attend sessions. And this happened to Senator Laila. No, she was arrested because the penalty was beyond 6 years.
Okay. Maraming salamat for joining us this afternoon. Erin Tanyada, ang Pangulo po ng Liberal Party. Sir, thank you for joining us and good to see you again.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Manny.
At higit sa lahat, maraming salamat kay Manuel Siopaw Mogato, ang Defense Editor ng One News. Manny, thank you at sinamahan mo ako ngayong araw.
Thank you rin.
Okay, turn again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Ed Lingao, kapatid. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.